The NFT boom is over and people are now asking, what are they useful for? Welcome everyone to yet another Pinata tutorial. In this video, we're going to be going over a short fire use case for NFTs in the future. We're going to be building an entire app as an NFT. So a little bit about me before we get started. I am Kelly. I am the Developer Evangelist at Pinata. I have been building in Web3 for over a year and I am super excited and honored to be able to guide you through this awesome project. I want to give credit for where credit is due. This is yet another brain baby of Justin, our VP of Product. The original blog can be found in the link below. If you have a chance, jump on over to his Twitter or his Substack and you can read the beauties of his mind. And before we really get into the nitty-gritty, if you have a moment, please give us a like or comment on this video. It really helps to boost engagement, helps to boost the channel overall. If you want the alpha on how to create really cool Web3 apps like this, go ahead and click that button right there to subscribe to our channel or give us a follow on Twitter or both. All right, let's dive in. Cool, so as usual, I'll be going through our toolbox for this tutorial. So first of all, we'll need a Pinata API key. If you don't have one, go ahead and create it. We'll also need an Alchemy account. Alchemy is kind of like our Web3 connective tissue to the blockchain. So if you don't have an account, you can go ahead and create one via the link below. We're also going to be using the OpenZeppelin library for all of its beautiful smart contracts. We're going to be using Hardhat as our Ethereum development environment. You'll also need an Ethereum compatible wallet browser. So I am going to be using a MetaMask account. Second to last, you'll need node.js installed on your terminal. You'll also need a package manager for this. So I'm going to be using NPM. If you're a Yarn person, you can just be who you want to be as well. And lastly, we're going to need a code editor. So I'm using VS Code just because this is my preferred, but if you have one that you are attached to and in love with already, go ahead and use that. Cool, so this tutorial is going to be broken down into two parts. So the first part is going to be where we're going to be writing the smart contract to mint our NFT app. And the second part is going to be where our actual application comes in. Let's bring up our old friend, the terminal. We're going to go ahead and create our directory, but before that, let's actually navigate into it. So as usual, I'm going to go into my Paradise projects because this is where all of my coolest projects live. So let's go ahead and just make a directory called NFT app. And this is the contract we're making. So you can name it something like NFT app contract, NFT contract, app contract, whatever you want. And then just CD into that at the same time. Cool. Whoop. Of course, I don't have it already. All right, now we're in. And let's go ahead and initialize this baby. So you can just accept everything here. You can like put a cool app, my awesome app, NFT contract, boom. Entry point, yep, cool. Yeah, I can do that later. Cool, cool. All right, everything is okay. So, all right, let's go ahead and open that up in our code editor and you'll see, okay, cool. We have a scaffolding under package JSON. Cool, and now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and install Hardhat as a dependency. So like I mentioned, Hardhat is an Ethereum development environment and framework. Yeah, you might be using something else. You might be using like Truffle or Ganache Foundry, any of the above, but we're going to be using Hardhat. So go ahead and do npm install Hardhat. And it's just going to do its thing. Cool. So now we could use the Hardhat CLI and initialize a new Hardhat project. So let's go ahead and npx Hardhat. And let's start with a JavaScript project. So it is nice to use a starter project because it does a lot of the hard, pun intended, stuff for us. So yeah, okay, we're gonna just accept nearly all of the defaults. Yes. Yes. We want the toolbox to use the tools. And that takes a wee while. Isn't that cool? Very cool. Love it. Okay. It does take a wee while, so you can skip ahead. Oh no, we're good. All right. Cool, so our project is created. Let's go ahead and walk around a little at what has been created. So you'll see a folder called contracts, node modules, scripts, tests. We've got a git ignore, great. And then inside these, you'll see there's a few things that have been installed, but all good for now. Okay, let's go back to our terminal. We are going to go ahead and install OpenZeppelin. So we're installing OpenZeppelin so that we have access to all of their smart contracts. So just go ahead and type in npm install OpenZeppelin/contracts. All right, so we've got 2 dependencies installed. It's looking really nice. Let's see. So if we take yet another tour in our package.json, we'll see that OpenZeppelin has been installed as a dependency. Okay, so now the fun is going to begin, but before we get into actually writing the smart contract itself, let's look at some requirements for the entirety of this tutorial. So firstly, we want one owner, which means one wallet address. So to clarify, this one owner might actually mean, one wallet address that points to multiple people, like a multi-sig wallet address. But essentially the app NFT itself will always want to be tied to one wallet address at any time. And then we'll want essentially just one NFT minted, so just one app. We'll want access controls, metadata mapping. This will be covered later, so don't worry about it too much right now. We'll want a function to update the token URI of the NFT. We'll also want mapped app versions. So as mentioned, we will have multiple updates to the app. This will create different IPFS content identifiers because at the end of the day, the content inside the app is completely different. So this is great for just like native version control and things like that. So we'll want a function to do that as well. Okay, going back to our terminal. So if you see here, we already have a lock.sol. So that's the extension for Solidity. Let's quickly go ahead and rename this to like App NFT. So that makes much more sense now. All right, so if you have a look at this contract that we have here, you'll see that this does not really look like an App NFT contract at all. That's because it isn't. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just copy and paste the contract code that you can find in the written tutorial, and then I'll be going through each function step by step to kind of explain what exactly we're doing here. So this is the copy and pasted contract. So this is essentially all you need in 61 lines of code. So firstly, we've imported a few bits and bobs from the OpenZeppelin directory. So we've got an extension here, the ERC721 URI storage.sol extension, as well as the counters.sol utility. So we'll be using both of these within the contract, which is why we've got them at the top. Okay, so we're going to start here at the constructor. So from the very beginning, what we're doing is we're setting this app owner to be whoever is deploying the contract. So at first glance, this is extremely rudimentary. It's very simple just for the purposes of concept and also just for this tutorial. So if you wanted to change this and send it to be someone else rather than the person deploying the contract, you could essentially pass in another address as an argument within the constructor, and then you could basically make it set the app owner after the contract is deployed. And then secondly, one thing we do straight after that was we just mint the NFT. So boom, mint. And so remember how the contract mints a single app NFT, which means this mint function, I'm gonna go down, which means that this mint function is essentially private. So again, this is under the assumption that the app owner is the person deploying the contract. So looking a little deeper into the mint function itself, we can see that it has this versions variable, and this basically tracks all of the different versions of our app where it's being updated or changed or anything. And then it's also instantly incremented because the default variable is set to 0. And then looking down at this token ID, it's set to 1 because there's only ever going to be one app. There may be various versions of this one app, but essentially there's just going to be this one app. And then continuing on, we grab the current version to use it, and then we use that to mint it. taking into account the wallet address of the person deploying the contract, as well as the token ID, which we have defined here. And then we continue on, we use this builds to map the current version to the token URI. And then eventually we will get the token ID. So I want to point out how important this last part is, because if you think about it, with any app that you have on your phone, on your desktop, it's always going to need updates. Like, technology is constantly changing. Think about bugs, think about package upgrades, etc., etc. Yeah, so if you go up here and you look at this function update app, the first thing we'll see is that it takes a new token URI. And this new token URI basically represents the IPFS content identifier of the updated or changed app. And again, we're going to see that the first thing that we're going to require is that the person deploying the contract is the app owner. Again, if you wanted this to be a little more flexible, because maybe you have a team, maybe it's not just you building on this app. If you wanted to have for example, a list of developers, you could change this to reflect so. And so what else this update app function does is it takes and sets the token URI to the new token URI. And then it will increment the version number so that we have a track of how many versions we have for this particular app. And then looking at the next function, which is this get previous build function. So this is a public function, which means that anyone can see how many versions of this app there were. And this also means that anyone can use an older version of the app if they want. And this final function here, which is transfer from, this is an iteration of a basic ERC721 function. So what this transfer from function is used for is that, say in the case that someone just really loved your app, or your app became very popular, you wanted to transfer ownership, it's an NFT, and it's not just from one contract, and the whole idea of this app NFT and being able to make changes to it is predicated on the fact that the person deploying the contract has to be the owner of the app. So how do you transfer ownership so that whoever you sell it to or pass it on to can make changes themselves? So what we have to do is we have to override the original transfer from function, and we have to make sure that the person we are sending it to is now the new owner of this app, so they have all the power to make changes. Okay, and that brings us to the very end of going over the smart contract for minting an app NFT. So we're almost ready to deploy it, but before we deploy it, we have to test it. So before we get all trigger happy, let's go ahead and open up our test directory. So we're going to quickly name this App NFT to match the name of our contract. Oops. App BFT. And everything in here we're going to delete. We're going to go into the written tutorial, grab the code for the test, and we're just going to plop it in. So these tests, all you have to know is that it does the job. I won't be going into the nitty-gritty of this because it's a lot, but all you have to know that this is a great starting point. And if you wanted to expand on this and alter it to your needs, please feel free to do so. But for the purposes of this tutorial, we're just going to be using what's given here. And so you're probably wondering, how on earth are we going to run these tests? Well, we have Hardhat to thank for that. So we can go ahead and use the Hardhat command line interface to compile all of our contracts and then run the test in the local memory. So go to your terminal. I like to use my code editor one because it's there. So go ahead and run the following command. So we're going to go npx hardhat test. And then you should see something like this. So well done. If you've got all of this, you've passed the test. Now we have reached the halfway mark, so it's a really good time to go take a stretch, grab a drink, I don't know, stretch some more, and then come right back here as we're going to dive into making the app itself, deploying the contract, minting the NFT, and then we're going to check it out as we see it on OpenSea. Cool, I hope you had a great break and you're ready to get straight into part 2 of creating an NFT app. So we have our contract, but we're missing one crucial thing. That's right, we are missing our world-changing app. So we're gonna go ahead and create a new directory for our app. And so in order to do that, today we're gonna spin up a quick React app. We're just gonna call it like app front end. And so when the installation is complete, change into the directory itself and then open it up in your code editor. We're not going to be doing too much to this app here. We're only going to be preparing it to be uploaded to Pinata. Okay, so currently IPFS doesn't get this app. Like, it doesn't understand how it works. So in order for IPFS to understand how this works, we have to put a few things into the package.json file. So if you open it up here, let me just move this. If you open it up here, it's got a few things already in here. We're going to add a key value pair in. That key value pair is going to be homepage. Yeah, wow. And that's it. So now IPFS can read and route properly. And yeah, we've just established a communication line between the two. And then in order for us to be able to actually deploy our app, we're going to need a Pinata API key. So it's really that time. So if you don't have an API key, you can go into the pinata.cloud website. If you don't have an account, go ahead and sign up. I already have an account. Oh, it's gonna just... Okay, let me just log in. And if you go to developers, it's currently in some smexy dark mode. You can essentially go and create a new key here. Actually, let's just go ahead and create a new key. So you can just create one like this. Go to developers, go to API keys, new key. Just click admin because you'll want all access. Ooh. Give your key a name. So let's call this playtime. And then once you create your key, it's going to give you all of this. So I'm going to delete this key later on so that no one can copy what this key says. So this, you're going to want to like keep this somewhere safe, just copy everything and then store it somewhere. I'm going to quickly just store it in my notes. Cool. And then once you've stored that somewhere safe, navigate back to your terminal. And now we're going to install the extremely helpful Pinata command line interface. So what you're going to do is you're going to go npm I global Pinata upload CLI and just wait for all of that to run. And then in order to authenticate it so that you can use it now, just simply type in pinata-cli and then remember how I told you to store your things securely. So now is the time to go ahead and copy your bearer token, which is your JWT token, and then paste that in here. And then if that's all good, you get this message called authenticated. And cool, once that's all authenticated, we can now use our script to execute the upload of our app. So if you go back to your React app project, I've got low battery, but I'll get a charger soon. Actually, I'm gonna get that right now. All right, everyone, she is juiced. I have no idea if anyone uses that. If they don't, they should. So anyways, if you open up your React project, open up your package.json file, and then in the script section, you'll want to pop in a new script called deploy, like so. Whoop. Cool. So what this script does, it builds the app, and then it uses sh to execute a shell script. Now this script we have not written yet, but we will get there. Now if you use bash, or if your computer prefers bash, you can just replace this sh with bash. Like so, but I'm not gonna do that. Now we're gonna go ahead and write the unwritten script. Reminds me of Natasha Bedingfield's song, Unwritten. So here, just create a file called upload.sh. And then inside this file, get ready. We're gonna add this massive line. There we are. That's our script. Now, if you go to your terminal, simply run this command. So you're gonna run npm run deploy. Cool. Okay. I like what I see. So what's going on here is that firstly, the build script is running, and then the upload command line interface basically uploads the whole entire build folder. And then if you scroll all the way down here, you'll see this hash that looks like an IPFS hash because it is. But this is going to help us make our final token URI for our app NFT. So we do have to do a few things like add some metadata and etc. But if you want to go ahead and customize this app to look a little cooler than what we have here, feel free to go ahead and do that. You can simply pause this video and then come back to it when you're ready. All right, we're back and we are ready to now deploy our contract. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to alchemy.com and we're going to create a new app. So I actually already have an app here ready to go, but basically you don't have an Alchemy account first, so you need that. So go and create that, and then go to app, go to create app, give it a name, give it a description, and then you're going to want to choose Polygon and then Mumbai, and then you basically just click create app. But I'm not going to do that because I already have one here. Boom. And then you go to view key. Once we have this, we're going to go ahead and just copy this. This is the URL. Just changed it to Korean. But yeah, you're going to want to keep that. Let's go back to our terminal. Cool, I'm going to CD into my contract. Oh, I don't think that's the one. That's the one. Let's open this back up. Okay, first thing we're going to do is, you know how we just copied that URL? We're going to keep it safe. So in every single project, you're going to want to make a .m file. So what is this? This basically keeps all of the things you want to keep safe, like your private key or your private like API key, safe. And it stops it from being pushed to GitHub, so that bots can't come in and like sweep it and steal your keys. So go ahead and enter the values for these two things. So for example, I just got my Alchemy URL and y'all have already seen that, so that's fine. Otherwise, I also have my private key here, which I will not show. And just to note, as a best practice, it's best to have a separate MetaMask browser wallet, like account, that you use just for development purposes, so that you don't get mixed up with like your main account where you have all your funds and you do all your like all the cool stuff you do. So I'm just going to momentarily pause and paste my private key in there. Cool. So that's done. I've got my .m filled out in my git ignore. In my git ignore, I've got my .m there, so I know that it's not going to be pushed to my public GitHub profile. And the next thing we have to do is we have to navigate to our hardhat.config. And at the moment, you can see that we don't have a lot going on. We just have this hardhat toolbox that was imported at the very beginning. And we also have the version of Solidity that we are using right now. So you'll want to change this. Well, actually, firstly, you want to do this. You want to require.env. And another thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put the networks in that we're working with. So we are currently on the Mumbai testnet, so that we don't use real money to just make a practice project. So just go ahead and fill these out like so. Oh. Cool. And we're gonna want to unpack these. Row, private key. All right, cool. So here it will detect our URL and the private key. All right, we're all good to go. Last thing is, this is really important in order for the deployment to work. You're going to want to get some testnet funds. So you can either go here. If you're a member of Alchemy, you'll get like 2 Matic a day. It's pretty cool. But basically just pop your wallet address in and then just press send in Matic, and then you should get some funds in there for you to use. And I recommend that you have at least 1 Matic to play with. So now that our config is updated, it is time for us to pop our metadata in. So metadata is cool. You can make it literally anything you want. But you will, however, need these 4 things. So you'll need a name for the NFT, description, obviously an image, and this last one, animation URL. So you're probably wondering, what on earth is an animation URL? So if we navigate to the OpenSea metadata standards, and we scroll down, here you can see that it is a URL to a multimedia attachment for the item. So what this animation URL does is it makes that our app NFT in a mainnet environment, not just testnet, can show up and be used on OpenSea itself. So this is where we put the IPFS content identifier, which is the exact same hash that we get when we're uploading our NFT to Pinata. Cool, so if we navigate back to our contract, and then in the root of our contract, we want to make a metadata.json file. Whoops, I'm gonna just drag it out. And then what you want to do is create the metadata here. So we're gonna firstly make an object. We're gonna put name, and the name of our NFT is going to be Apple Dapple. We're gonna put a description. Whoops. And this can be, this is a kick-ass NFT app that has all the powers of an NFT. Then under images, here you're going to have something a little bit different than me, but basically you want to grab the CID for the image representing your app. So you can go ahead and pin something like to your Pinata account and then grab that CID. So let me quickly get something. Okay, got my image. I'm gonna pop the CID in there. Cool, so once you have the CID for the image that you want as the cover for your app, you'll want to replace this with the hash that you got from your app build. So what you'll be looking at is basically the hash that you got when you ran this command. Let me just do it again for shits and gigs. So it'll be this, and you're going to want to pop that into here. And once that's all filled out, in the root of your contract project directory, just run pinata CLI, and you'll get this hash. So you'll want to keep onto that. Now we're going to go ahead and write the script to deploy and mint our app NFT. We'll deploy the contract and then mint the NFT. So if you poke around in the NFT app contract directory and you open up scripts, boom, there is a file called deploy.js, which is great. But we don't need the stuff in here, so you can go ahead and just delete that and go grab the code from the tutorial and paste it in here. And so if you look at the top, this is where you're going to want to put this hash right here. Oh gosh. Okay, and now the script should be ready to run. So let's go back to our terminal. Let's just clear that. And now let's go ahead and use Hardhat's inbuilt EVM to do a test run of the script. So go ahead and type npx hardhat. Gonna run the scripts. We're gonna run the deploy.js script. Cool, so this will be successful whether or not you have test funds. This is kind of what you should get. And now for the real deal. We're gonna deploy our contract. Make sure you have enough funds in your testnet wallet. And then we're basically gonna run the same command. We're just gonna change it up a tinge. So in this case, we're gonna put the network in. We're gonna say we're gonna deploy on the Mumbai chain. Oh gosh, what did I do? Oh, okay, I see. Little typo. Cool. Okay, that took a while and it made me kind of nervous, but we're all Gucci. So this is what we got. It's kind of like that, except you'll notice that it's a totally different address. And this address here will point to an actual transaction. So if we just navigate to, so that's, I just grabbed this like address. I'm gonna paste it in. You'll see that this is where it came from, which is great. So cool, we can see it on the Block Explorer, but what about OpenSea? Okay, so if you go to testnets.opensea.io, this is my wallet. I'm logged in with a wallet that I used to create this project. And you can see I did a couple of random ones here. And here's Apple Dapple. So by now you should have a pretty decent machine, but if you want one super quick and well-oiled, like a grease lightning, then I would definitely recommend doing all of this again, but with a Pinata dedicated gateway. It's available for everyone on a paid plan. We have several, so you can definitely find something that suits your needs. And the reason you'd want this is so that your app loads super quickly every time someone tries to access it. And it just offers a premium experience for your content overall. Again, if you were unclear about anything, please navigate to Justin's blog and feel free to use that also as supplement to the video. And that brings us to the very end of this tutorial on how to make an app NFT. I really want to see what everyone made using this tutorial, so please tag me on Twitter at @KellyKid_XYZ and also tag pinatacloud, so that's at pinatacloud. And lastly, if you found any value at all, please leave a like, comment, or even if you're feeling up to it, subscribe to our channel. It would really help us out a lot. And until next time, happy pinning everyone.